morning and welcome to the program Perspectives on Invicta 98.9. This morning, our focus would be on Nigeria's economy. For some people, we're having storms in our economic growth. And of course, successive administrations have tried to put Nigeria amongst developing countries of the world. But the situation at hand now calls for concern. Well, prior to 2020, years before 2020, we had a Vision 2020 development goal, which was conceived by the Nigerian government with a view to, making her one of the top 20, largest economies of the world. But here we are in 2020, and we may be just asking if we are there. What are the cogs in this development growth of Nigeria's economy, and policies that have been put in place? Are they working? The situation too that we have about corruption taking its toll, leadership's role in development of any nation's economy, and of course we'll talk about the infrastructures being put in place. Are these helping? And just this morning we are all with the news that Nigeria may be going in for another recession. We had another round now. We had one just 4 years ago in 2016, maybe going in for another one. And the question being asked, what can we do and how can we get out of this hole that we are, the economy? My guest this morning is Professor Seth Akuson, as a Professor of Economic and Entrepreneurship Development with Kaduna State University. My guest this morning, Professor Seth Akuson, good morning and glad to have you on the show. We had a challenge there, and we got out of it. And Professor Seth Akuson, a professor of economic and entrepreneurship development, Kaduna State University, would be our guest this morning by phone. And I was just, Prof, I was just giving a background there about Nigeria and its economy. What we have on ground cannot be said to put us, in the league of developing nations of the world. And what are the stunts with our economy? And of course, just some hours ago, we got the news again that Nigeria may go into another recession, another round of recession, so to say. And policies have been put in place. And of course, the economic team are seen to be doing their job. But we're just not getting out of it. And over-reliant on oil, what it has done to us. And again, looking at, other structures that have not been put in place. For you, how are we getting a general overview of Nigeria's economy, and then we begin to talk about getting out of the hole? Hello, Prof.
Yeah, hello, Prof.
We're having problems here. Okay, we'll just put it right now. Hello, Prof.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. We're back again. Another challenge, but we got out of it too. I was just talking about Nigeria's economy. Before 2020, we were talking about getting Nigeria, to the league of 2020 largest economies of the world, but here we are, 2020, and it's a far cry from what we've talked about before 2020. And again, we're looking at what is stunting our development, especially in the areas of development. We just got news too that Nigeria may be going in for another round of recession. All of this and what it is doing to our growth. So just for starters, if you'd go into, give us a overall view of the economy as it is today.
Well, the economy
is not doing well. In any case, let me start by thanking you for having me, and then we'll go on from there. And then my greetings to all the listeners over there. The truth of the matter is that even the Minister of Finance, the Federal Minister of Finance, has announced that Nigeria may likely go into recession. The figures we have now is not friendly at all. In the quarter preceding this one we have entered, which is the third quarter that is ending next month, we are already on negative growth. The parameters and the yardstick for us to determine that are very clear. One, the exchange rate has gone beyond what we can imagine. And don't forget that Nigeria is an import-dependent nation, very, very heavy dependent on import. And as a result, as at today, the exchange rate of Naira for a dollar has gone to hit the almost 500 Naira mark. So you can see what we are. This is an exchange rate that we're talking about 360 a few weeks ago. And even at the official rate is over 380. And in fact, within the next 5 years, we don't see anything changing, given the trajectories and given the forecasting and the projections into the future. So that is one. Number two, the inflation rate that makes the purchasing power of the Naira and of the people is already in 2 digits, and it has crossed the 10 and 12 percent mark. So you can imagine that, and given the fact that, given the exchange rate purchasing power and the taxes that have been imputed into it, does not help the economy in any way. Then you also look at other parameters within the economy in terms of interest rate. Well, the interest rate on deposit is ridiculously low at about 1 point something or 2%. The borrowing rate is very high at more than 20%. So what you do to borrow money is when people are depositing. Even when you want to put in Nigerian treasury bills, is ridiculously low. So now, how on earth you discourage people from depositing their money to earn some interest, and then you strangulate the borrowers that are going to inject that money into the economy to help it? So these are the challenge we are facing. And the feelers we are getting is that the central bank is ready to increase the monetary policy rate because of the challenges the economy is facing. Now, if you do that, you strangulate the economy further. But I think they should know better. So, these are some of the issues that we see in the economy. Now, you take another parameter, employment. Many jobs have been lost. Many organizations, institutions, schools, businesses are not running optimally. In fact, some are running at all. Some have even folded up, they have collapsed. So as it is, unemployment rate is rising. In fact, the National Bureau of Statistics just released their own data recently, showing that we are terribly in an unemployment situation, particularly youth unemployment, which is dangerous, that will now create the reserve army that Kalmas talk about, that can be recruited into any form of criminality. So this is the issue that we're seeing. Then, just yesterday, the Controller General of the Federation just announced that with the African Free Continental Trade Agreement, that Nigeria is going to lose substantially on trade. In any case, what are we exporting? The oil that we are busting, that we are exporting, is not doing well in the international market. And so, the truth of the matter, balance of trade is going to be in deficit. It's already in deficit. So we are going to face serious strain when it comes to balance of trade issue. And so these are the kind of issues that we are looking at in the economy as a whole. And I think something might be done and drastically.
Okay.
So finally,
yeah. Go on, Prof.
Finally, Nigeria has just proposed a budget for 2021 of about 12 trillion. Now, if you look at currently, our debt servicing has taken a chunk of the budget that we are going to. So we are running a serious budget deficit. We are relying on borrowed funds, and our external reserve is depleting, and yet we are borrowing enormously. And don't forget, given the fillers we are getting from the National Assembly, what we borrowed from China has not been fully disclosed. So what we are talking about is what we have borrowed in the past and all that. So if you now start talking about what we borrowed, the substantial amount, the billions of dollars we borrowed from Chinese for infrastructure, for rail construction and all that, I think Nigeria is in for it, except something is done seriously, urgently, and drastically. Thank you very much.
All right, Prof. Here we are with a nation that once boosted, and made it so loud to the world that her problem was not the problem of spending money, but how to spend it. And of course, successive governments have come, with that regime that said that. Now, over dependence on oil and how much it has done to even, pull down the economy of a nation. And of course, you talked about borrowing and where we are, faced with a situation of a borrowing nation, but not a nation that is using borrowed money to develop herself. Now, what has happened along the line that Nigeria, that was once a strong economy, had to go this low? Because some of the things you mentioned are so glaring that we see them. Financial institutions have warned Nigeria that it should be careful about its borrowing, of course, for generations, unborn.
Yeah, the truth of the matter is that we miss it along the line. Yes, at a time, Nigeria could boast itself and support IMF, support the World Bank, support other development institutions, African Development Bank, where the world was heavily relying on us. In fact, Britain, Germany, even the US and the rest of them were looking up to Nigeria for support. Anything we are doing internationally in the 80s, Nigeria donates substantially. Whether FIFA or whether anything, we are the mother and father Christmas of the world. But you see, we started having administrative lapses. Then corruption creeping in quadruple. And because of that, the money meant for development could not be used appropriately. So our infrastructure started, getting destroyed. And because of that, we need huge amount of money to develop them. If you look at the Top Mainland Bridge at the shop, in order to develop it, and this was what was built many years ago, about 30 years ago. So along the line, corruption. In fact, the British Prime Minister once said that if the money that is stolen from Nigeria is stolen from the UK, that the UK will cease to exist. So you see this kind of a thing that we are passing. There's selfishness, self-aggrandizement, and then wickedness in high places as threatening to destroy this nation, that our savings, our external reserve, our excess growth account has been depleted, fighting insecurity in such a way that you don't see the impact. And as a result, the country, the nation, is facing severe financial challenge. And so the looting of the treasury in such a manner, if it's as if Nigeria has a bottomless riches that cannot finish. If not, one would have wondered all this looting in trillions. And you will see that this country is still existing, is even a miracle. Probably the 10th or 11th or 13th wonder of the world. And so this is what we're seeing. I traveled to Ghana sometime, and the Ghanaians were asking me whether all these things they are reading about in social media, in online media, and the rest of them, whether they are true, that this kind of quantum of money is being stolen from Nigeria. And I said, well, it is true. And they said, if you are the highest and the biggest thief on earth, and you come to Ghana, you will not even see that kind of money to steal. Talk less of stealing. That they are wondering how the people could get access to that kind of money and, to steal. I entered, I was traveling out, I was with somebody from the Netherlands, and they were sharing with me how in some cases it's difficult to be corrupt because of the system that has been put in place. The whistleblowing policy, the system of check and balances, and all that. So we lose it. And with military incursion, whereby we expected that there should be a legislative arm that will do check and balance. The legislative arm is not there. The oversight function is not there. Now, when we return to democracy, you expect that the National Assembly will be implementing the rules, the law of check and balances. And you find out that they are compromising themselves to the extent anytime there is probe or anytime they are doing their oversight function, the major intention is to strangulate and to ensure that those MDAs pay some dues, pay some bribes, settle them, and these are things we are seeing all over the place. So you hardly see a situation whereby after the oversight function, there is a reprimand, there is a kind of dealing with those who are involved, but after some time you see that they say it's politics and they settle it, behind or under the table. And so we on our part, we have to arise and demand accountability and demand responsibility in governance of this nation, so that at the end of the day, this country will be good. So this is how, along the line, we lost the value that this nation was known for and this country was respected for. This is what really happened. Thank you.
We see a think tank, set up, to look at how to move the economy forward. Economic team was set up, and we saw that the team, the members in this team are, great ones in the area of economy. And we've also, looked at the role of leadership in driving the economy of any nation. What, when we talk about leadership, because you've gone to the National Assembly now, I want to look at leadership in driving the economy of any nation. Have we gotten to the point that we might say that leadership could be, held responsible in economic rules now?
Oh, of course, sir. Everything begins and ends in leadership. Why do we go into election and select some and reject some? It's leadership. Because, I said, used to share what Chinua said, that the trouble with Nigeria is leadership, and that's why the center cannot hold. And so everything starts and ends with leadership. So if the leadership will get the leadership right, everybody has to play. When the leadership is not the best we could put forward, the country will be in for it. And this is what we have been facing. This is the danger. This is the difficulty. We have to go back. The process of electing our leaders is flawed with corruption, with intimidation, with harassment, with dying of the electorate. First of all, you impoverish them. When you impoverish them, they reach a point whereby they cannot, be independent. And then we have to start a situation where we go technologically in advancing with the BVN, with the national identity, with all these things. So you can use it to vote. You have a very structured India, as big as India is, with a population of several times Nigeria, about 5 times Nigerian population. Yet India we can run elections successfully without rancor because of the digital nature of the election. You can use your handset to vote. If you vote twice, it will show and cancel. As you are voting, the result is showing on your handset. So these are the kind of things that we get. Why is it that you cannot withdraw from your account? Why is it that you cannot withdraw from my account? Is it not because of the digital nature, the structure that they put in place? So if we do that, you have a BVN, all your account, the National Financial Intelligence Unit will see whatever you are passing. So if anybody is trying to do double voting, the technology will detect and it will cancel his vote immediately. So this is where, because substantial number of people that are voting age, they have handset. So we can use that. Then we now look at the villages to see how do we accommodate them. So if we don't have the process of electing the right leadership, we're going to continue to have talks. We're going to continue to have people, with questionable character, finding their way, using thuggery to come into governance. Or those who want to come, they will use talks to come into governance. So this is the challenge that is at hand. And so that is why you see that we are having a very deficit leadership. We are having leadership that cannot deliver, that are inept in their words, deed, and action. And so this is the kind of thing. So Nigeria has to go into a process of selecting the right kind of leadership, and then let us see what we can do. And the nature of democracy is very, very expensive, and that is why we want to use digital mode of delivery, so that at the end of the day, your campaign, your mobilization does not really matter. It matters on who the people want to vote and who they want to bring to power. That's the issue, sir.
Let me take you back, Prof, and take you back to when we first started. I mean, when the project Nigeria first started, we had a system was called the parliamentary system of government, where regions were developing on their own, and of course we saw healthy competition or rivalry with the regions as they develop. Now we have a system where the center is the most powerful, and of course every federating unit has to report to the center. Has it in any way, again, taken its toll on economic development? If the states were on their own and could take from what they have, what is coming out from their state, could this have helped in any way in economic growth?
Well, of course. Most of these things that you are seeing, that is what is impacting negatively on our growth trajectory and our growth projections. For instance, what are we talking about? The Economic Recovery and Growth Plan projected very high percentage of about 7% growth in the economy. And since then, we've not even reached 3% growth. And as I'm talking to you, the best we could reach was 2.something%. And as it is now, we are already in negative growth in the preceding quarter. So we are now going to another negative growth. The impact that is happening at the state level, because the aggregate of the growth model, or whatever the GDP, gross domestic product, the aggregate comes from the state, from the local government into the federation. Federation doesn't have its own direct constituency. Its constituency comes from the state. So when the state are not doing well, there's no way the federal will do well. And so this is the kind of thing that happens. And it works with individuals, with small and medium scale enterprises that are over 40 million in this country. With that, if you have over 40 million small businesses, you know where your economy is going. What it means is that if each of them can employ 3 persons, that means what we are talking about, that means 120 persons have been employed. How many are we in this country? And so that is small scale industry. Then you talk about employment at the federal level, employment at the private sector. So why is there high unemployment? This is the impact that we are having with the amalgamation, the aggregation of all these things that are happening. This is where we find ourselves, in a quagmire. So the truth of the matter is that all those little actions across the state, across borders of this country, is impacting on the negative growth we are expecting. If the various constituencies, the various components of governance, the subnational level, and all those areas that are doing well, we all will be doing very well. And so this is the impact we are having in terms of growth, elements.
Would you then be in favor of restructuring, as some people have said, maybe if, as we are growing up as a nation now, that restructuring must take place to allow states to grow on their own?
Yes, excuse. It depends on your own definition of restructuring. We politicize this restructuring that we don't know what we want to do. Is the problem of Nigeria restructuring? Can restructuring put food on your table? Sometimes we're getting this thing wrong. Well, I'm not against restructuring. I'm not saying that the nation should not restructure. But the truth of the matter is that whether you restructure, the state or the governors, the leaders that are calling for restructuring, are they doing well in their own state? Have they delivered their own state? Have they delivered their local government? Are there no corruption going there? You see, we must take our destiny in our hands. Yes, restructuring will help us in terms of devolution of power at the center, so that to make the center less powerful. But how do you do that? Because the person who is talking about restructuring, when he gets there, he wants to have more power. Don't forget that recently, the president signed an executive order asking that each of those local governments should have independence in terms of their finances. Is that not part of the process of restructuring? So that everybody will have his money to know how to develop his own local area. What happened? The Nigerian Governors Forum went to him and they put a stay of execution on that executive order. And these are the people that are saying that the nation should be restructured. So you now put a stay on that. So what happened to the restructuring that you have been clamoring? Is that not part of the restructuring? Can't we start from somewhere? And so the local government are now going cap in hand to the state governors to collect subvention, to collect money, to pay salary, to do this, to do that. And so the restructuring we are talking about, it has to be political restructuring and economic restructuring. There is huge expenditure on the executive and the legislative arm of this country. And so the restructuring is that the incentive at the center should be reduced. The legislature's huge emolument should be drastically cut down. And these are the kind of restructuring we are talking about. Economy restructuring that will put money in the hands of the masses, in the hands of nearly 200 people that are wallowing in difficulty. So don't forget, in the capital market, you have only 1% of the population that are investing there. What is happening? Then you go and see account. Let me even tell you something. In the whole account of this country, the people who can afford 500,000 naira in the account, and don't forget 500,000 naira is just about $100. The people that can afford $100 in their account are not up to 10,000 of the population of this country. So tell me, so when you are talking about equitable distribution of income, it's not there, and that is what we are calling restructuring. You structure it. For instance, in Britain, for you to be excessive rich, you pay through your nose. I go to my friends who are professors, who are vice chancellors, who are these. You discover that at the end of the day, you see that if you want to have a bigger car park, then you know how much you pay. So what we are saying is that we are not against people aspiring to accumulate wealth, to accumulate resources. But the nature of distribution, the nature of the restructuring we are talking about is still in favor of the upper class. We need to build a very strong middle class so that at the end of the day, the middle class are linking up with the upper class and they are linking up with the lower class and the downtrodden. So you see that resources is enough. If you go to Malaysia, what the president can eat, somebody at the lower rung of the ladder, you'll be able to afford it. You'll be able to eat it. And so what we're asking is that the first thing, food security, to deliver people from hunger, from poverty, from squalor. And at the end of the day, you will see that the country will be better for it. The country will do well. And
Okay.
so this is where we are talking. This is the restructuring we are talking about. It's not political restructuring where you make noise all about.
Okay, Prof. Thank you for this first session of it. We're going for a commercial break. We'll join you after.
Okay, thank you, sir.
We'll be right back after this quick commercial break. Are you serious? For all you
Welcome back. Here's the program Perspectives this morning, coming to you on Invicta 98.9, and we're talking about the economy and where we are with it. And of course, sharing thoughts with us on this matter, we have Professor Seth Akusin, Professor of Economic and Entrepreneurship Development, Kaduna State University. Well, Prof, this one that just came to us, after 4 years, we might just be going to another second round of recession. Now, just give us, a brief of the consequences of what we are likely again to face with the recession that may be staring us in the face.
Well, we should even pray that we don't have a depression. Because sometimes depression can be worse. Now, what recession means, that the productive capacity of the economy is now at its lowest ebb. When you are in recession, the parameters are not favorable. For instance, that means you have 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth. And that is what Nigeria is likely to face by end of next month. Because the preceding quarter that we just finished, the second quarter, we experienced some negative growth. And then in this third quarter, we are experiencing negative growth. And if we're not careful, it will go further to the fourth quarter. So that means having 3 quarters consecutively. That, if care is not taken, is already taking us to a situation of depression. Now, what it means is that unemployment in the nation will be high, and the implication of that is insecurity. The worsening insecurity will go beyond our control, because you have a number of several jobless people, growing close to 90 million. So, and if you have that, you know what it means. Already, if we are 200 million, the National Bureau of Statistics have already given that it's over 40%. And if you put 40% of youth population, that means we are now talking about virtually almost 50 million. So this is where the challenge is. So within that, you have the inflation. That means the purchasing power. Naira is being depreciated on a daily basis. So when you go into depression, where is the money? And because the benchmark is the dollar. And in South Africa, if you go there, you see the exchange rate to the dollar is barely 6 rand to the dollar. And then to get that, you have to pay about 25 naira, 30 naira to get a rand within this Africa. So you see the kind of thing that we're facing. So this is what recession is striking us in the face. And then what it means is that austerity measures will begin to come in. Government will not be able to fund some projects, and if there is no expenditure from government angle, you find out that people will not be empowered, because the contractors need to spend money. Money needs to get, before I can get, somebody has to get to transfer it to me. But if many people are not getting, it means many others will not be getting the funding. They're not getting the resources, the income to spend. So salaries will become irregular. Payment will become irregular. Payment to contractors, payment to service providers. So these are the challenges of recession that is, striking us in the face. So there is need to address this quickly. The question now is that, where are we heading? The budget performance for this year is far below average. So this is where the challenge is coming from, and we need to be very careful and pray that we don't get into that dangerous situation.
Let me also look at, you are a professor of economy and entrepreneurship development. I want to stay with entrepreneurship as we are today with all of what is going on. The power sector, that we all know plays a significant role in driving the economy of any nation. And of course, entrepreneurship, again, at low level or mid level, would come to play here. How has that, played out with the economy?
Now, of course, you see, when we start a blame game, we don't get anywhere. Today, when MTN came to this country, there were two major challenges that they are facing. Number one, power, electricity, to power their instruments, to power their mines, to power their equipment. But what did they do? They imported heavy generators, developed generators to power the equipment from South Africa. Today, they now become fairly used generator, or what we call the Tokumbo, for this country, and they start selling them after 2 years of usage. They were able to overcome that, and today we are enjoying electricity. We are enjoying telecom services. The same thing with other telecom services. The same thing with other people that are running like ShopRite, like other services being provided by South Africa. So what are we talking about? The Indian, the Pakistani, and the rest of them that came to this country. They were able to handle it, and that's why you have Meccano selling generators at exorbitant prices. And these are foreigners. So what are we talking about? Then, if you have that, you now begin to talk about those service providing, and MTN has the second challenge, which is the backbone. When they came in, Nitel was there providing these services. They tried to go into agreement with Nitel so that they can use their national backbone to scale up their telecommunication services. The negotiation broke down. They have to start building their backbone from the scratch, and they connected virtually every part of this country. So when we sit down, we keep on talking with this renewable energy. Apple organization, as such as it is the first organization on earth to reach 2 trillion mark in terms of capacity, in terms of richness. They run that big dome of Apple in the US on renewable energy. Many organizations today, there are a number of them in Nigeria that don't use all this long wire of electricity provision. We have somebody, there is Blue Camel that you visit around Peugeot area. They don't use a national grid. They use renewable energy throughout to power the organization. They are the ones supplying the street light in this country. So the truth of the matter is that all this national grid we are talking about, the kind of money and resources that is expended on the power holding company of Nigeria and the rest of them, the Niger Delta Power Holding Company and the rest of them, if we spend it to distribute it to each family on renewable energy, would have settled the issue of electricity once and for all. So the so-called dam can be used to power huge industry. That is the dam that will supply power, the supply chain that is coming from oil sector to power, the machines that give us electricity. So what we are just saying is that yes, that electricity challenge is there, but renewable energy is the way to go, is the future. We cannot continue like this. We don't have the turbines to be able to power this enough. And if we have them, we are already facing challenge of fuel supply to some of these turbines. Then the dams again, when the rainy season go, they will say that there is no water. When the rainy season comes, they will say the water is too high. So you keep on facing this kind of challenge. And then we are not using coal as we are supposed to use again. The coal challenge is there. So why can't you go for renewable? Wind energy, we go about the solar energy, which we have enough, and other forms of renewable energy, so that we continue to challenge them. And also in terms of pollution and environmental, degradation, these are the challenge for some of these things. So the world is already gone past that. So this is what we need to look at and get this in. So everybody should begin to think inward. You see, how can we supply electricity in the house at the end of the day, so that what happened to NITEL will happen also to Power Holding of Company of Nigeria.
Okay, Prof, let me bring in our audience here, with some questions and comments on our subject matter this morning. Numbers to call to be part of this conversation: 081 40,000 989, 081 40,000 989, or 070 87 800 989, 070 87 800 989. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
And good morning to your guests. Thank you, Engineer Manuel.
Yes.
Okay, your guests have spoken well, but I want to ask your guests, now that you are saying that we are entering recession the second time, for me, I stand to be corrected. I think we have been in recession even before now. So this one of that we are entering it the second time. When you go around and you hear price of commodities, you know that we have been in recession lately, not now, even before the COVID-19. Because even when they were telling us that we are out of recession, were we really out of recession? Because things did not go back the way it was, rather it keeps going up. So as the former administration, we are able to manage our economy. So why can't we have a technocrat that knows about the economy, so that our economy will move forward? Because this administration came with fixing our economy and other things. But now, the economy keeps going down by the day. And now, to worsen the matter, the loan that they keep acquiring. And now we are servicing debt with almost 3-point-something trillion come 2021. 2020, our budget all goes to service debt. How do we continue like this?
Okay, Engineer Emmanuel, let me just go straight to Prof. Prof, did you get Engineer Emmanuel there?
Yes, I get him. He said we have entered recession.
That were we ever out of recession?
No. We are out of recession.
Okay.
We have to get this thing clear that those of us, what we actually do is that we don't pronounce something without documentary evidence. So yes, the signs are there. People are facing difficult situation, and all that. But you cannot end by saying that yes, we have entered recession, because in the first quarter of this country we are not in recession. The growth trajectory was even about above 2%, and so we cannot pronounce ourselves in recession. Between January and March, the economy was not doing as bad as it is now, and the economy was doing averagely well. And so what we are saying is that to enter recession, it has to be in 2 consecutive quarters of the economy. That starting from April to June, then July to September. We are still in August. We are not in September yet. But yes, we have entered negative growth in the second quarter, starting from April to June. And then we are already showing signs of negative growth of about 1.something% in the third quarter, which starts from July to September. So as we are in August now, a miracle can happen before the end of August or in September. And so we as economists, we don't reach conclusion until we have the fact. And that's why we cannot conclude that we are in recession as it is now. But the signs are there.
You have 1 minute remaining in your actual value.
We're still on with calls. Let's take another call here. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
We are on to Comrade Bako Abdul Usman, the nationwide electricity advocate provider.
Comrade Bako, right?
Your guest has spoken very well, Tony, and we quite appreciate his effort. Going forward, looking at what happens within the power sector, you agree with some of us that the bad luck of most of the monies the discos were collected. About 75% were collected from the discos to pay out all the backlog that were on ground then. So for us today, we feel the federal government is not doing the needed
effort to really cushion this effect. Look at what he said about the NITA. When the service providers regarding telecom came into this country, there were other backlogs that were on ground, like payment of salaries, but government never insisted that those that were buying or were having access to the sale of those licenses to, like the MTN, the Glo, and the Etisalat, they never said they must pay all those backlogs. So what is happening in the electricity, you should shed light or more light on the issue so that we will know. Because with the electricity, the discos were collected 75% to pay all the backlog, but today what we are having is not having electricity. So he should shed light on that too, so that we, the citizens, will have a view over the whole thing.
Okay, all right, Prof. You got Comrade Baku there.
Yeah, it's okay. I think, well, that is it. I appreciate his comment, and I think we should take it there. These are suggestions that can always be looked into by government, and I hope that they are listening to us to see what can be done. Yes, we hope that things will be better for it, and then our lives will be okay. I don't have much to say, but that we continue to pray that all will be well.
Okay, still with your calls here? Still taking calls?
Hello,
good morning. Hello?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Hello?
Okay. We'll stay with your calls.
Good morning, Mr. Tawala.
Good morning.
Good morning to your Prof. Yes, I appreciate Prof. What you said, I enjoyed this program, I enjoyed this conversation. But what we are having more doubt is that the government say we are entering second phase of recession. But I'm on my own little understanding at my age now. I'm seeing this country that our leaders are not telling us the truth. We are in a recession since this administration entered into power. Because everything has gone upside down, my brother. Can you believe that you cannot go to the market and see a cup of garri at the rate of 20 naira we used to buy before? This is our own locally made. But the same administration tell us that they have been exporting here, and we didn't even see our own here to buy. So they are always telling us reverse is the case. Then in terms of this electricity or energy, yes, if this type of people can, this government will give them, people like us, opportunity. Mr. Tawala, I promise you that if I want to calculate to bought a generator, I can give a community of 50 houses life, and they will be seeing the services I was rendering to them. But you believe that we are paying NEPA bill, but we are not seeing light. We are paying in darkness. And somebody will still come in front of you, turn the push. I'm electrical engineer. I do use light to do my work. But 8 o'clock in the morning, you see light in the bulb. Immediately open your shop. You not see the light again till 7 o'clock in the evening. My brother, if they are giving me a bill, I refuse to pay. Am I to be blamed? So, but when you see my brothers, they have been deceived us a lot. And when you take law into your hands, the law will come back to you. Because the common man, nobody is ready to protect us. But I believe God is protecting us. That's why we are alive today. Thank you and God bless you.
Okay, Chief Amotekun there. Prof, again, if you just round it up, the atmosphere itself, environment, how...
No. You see, my brother, we are not in recession, please. Don't come... Yes, things are high. That is inflation. Don't mistake the two words. When things are getting expensive, you cannot afford... Yes, we have been in inflation for a very long time. The inflation rate is high. Yes, I agree with you. But not recession. There are three components: the inflation, the recession, and the depression. So when inflation continues persistently and some other issues, you can then, but we have to see that we are not growing. The economy has been growing at 2.something%. So we are not in recession as we are today. But yes, the inflation is high. The purchasing power is low. I agree with that. But not recession. And so if inflation continues like that, yes, we might go into recession, and that's why we are likely to go into by next month. And after that, we go into recession. We are not careful again, it continues to go into depression. That is the worst situation. To come out from it then it will be difficult. It's not something that you can recover overnight. So, but I think the feeling of the people in terms of high prices of goods, that is inflation. But let's hope that the government will take the necessary steps to avert, the likelihood of even depression. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Prof, rounding it up, we're not producing as it is. You mentioned at the beginning of it that we are just importing, and so we're not importing, and manufacturing, the sector is like dormant as it is now, and all of that. The atmosphere too, what's on ground is not friendly. Insecurity and all of that does not make for investment. All of that, how we'll get out of this hole in the short time.
No, you are right, my brother. Because the insecurity is threatening productive capacity of the nation. And then even what we produce, we are not competitive enough. Those of us in Kaduna, you can see that the textile industry that used to give us a lot of employment, that employed nearly 10,000 of our citizens, is no longer operational. And so, where is the production? The reason is because the ease of doing business, the multiple taxation, the environment is not friendly, security challenges, and then issue of infrastructure. You get your light, get your water, repair your roads, and all that and all that. These are the challenges that is making us the manufacturing concern. Look at the industries and then the shopping mall and all that closed down in Kaduna. There were two organizations when I was growing up in Kaduna here. There was this Chioda. Chioda is what is now known as the Kaduna Refinery. If you are not working in Masaka or what you call the textile industry, you are working in Chioda. So a number of our people were involved in this. Now, between last year, NNPC spent 65 billion on wages and salaries, and produce no single oil, make no 1 naira profit. Now, when you see this kind of a thing, you begin to wonder where we're going. Even the oil we say we are producing, we are still importing. There are two types of filling stations in Nigeria today. The ones that are using imported oil, that the one they get the original local, the blend oil that we are talking about. So no employment going on. So the thing is that anybody that has a job, he has to hold it very tightly to avoid a situation where he himself will go into his personal recession by losing his job. So what we are doing is that to ensure that the government, everybody puts his hand on deck so that we can salvage this country. We can deliver this country from the challenges that the country has been facing all right. It cannot be done by just one person. So with that, I say thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. That's just about all we can take. Thank you for coming on the program.
Yeah, thank you, my pleasure.
All right. And that has been Perspectives today, where we'll focus attention on Nigeria's economic growth with Professor Seth Akuson, a professor of economic and entrepreneurship development at Kaduna State University, our guest this morning. We'll come back with Perspectives on Monday. Murphy, I want to thank you for connecting us with the people. And Wisdom, thank you for putting us in the pictures. Have a wonderful weekend.